Hi there, welcome to our presentation for those of you who are thinking about bringing a rescue dog home. So we are KS Animal Behaviour, dog training and behaviour services in Norfolk and remotely via our online school or Zoom. So a little introduction for those of you that don't know me. I am Krista Seago MSc, BSc Ons and all that fancy stuff, founder and head behaviourist at KS Animal Behaviour. We specialise in working with rescue and anxious dogs, and after working in rescue and embarking on my own journey with my own rescue dog Max, I have made it my mission to help keep rescue dogs in loving homes and prevent dogs from being taken back into rescue. So in my work as a trainer and behaviourist, as a dog walker, and in rescue, I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I have seen what sets up a dog to succeed and what is going to be risk factors for that dog to be relinquished back into rescue. So I want to start off by saying that obviously bringing a rescue dog home is super exciting and an incredibly rewarding experience. I think giving a dog a second chance of a loving, safe and understanding home is extremely commendable. Many rescue dogs have had a difficult past, making their resilience, adaptability and capacity to love so special. When you choose a rescue dog, you are not only providing a forever home to that deserving dog, but also allowing space in rescue for more dogs that need help. So you are actually saving two dogs in that process. I think rescuing a dog is incredibly rewarding, but also a very kind thing to do, because it is easy to go out there and get a puppy or buy a dog privately, because you don't have to go through the same assessment protocols. But the rewarding side of it, seeing them come out of their shell and grow in confidence, helping them through issues, and knowing that you've given that dog a second chance makes it really worthwhile. But there are a few things to bear in mind when bringing a rescue dog home. As I say, I have seen what can go wrong and what are the risk factors that have led to that rehome going wrong. So one of the main things that I want people to think about when you are considering getting a rescue dog is actually choosing a reputable rescue. There are various rescue organisations out there, and just like going to a dog breeder, there are some really good ones who really care and put all of the correct infrastructure, protocols, and considerations in place. There are some that are maybe not so great, but have the best intentions, and there are some that are downright awful. And rescues are just the same. Now, don't get me wrong, with rescue organisations, there are usually good intentions behind it, but if it is done in a way that is not considering the safety of the dogs and the people, if they have not considered the health and behaviour of those dogs, this is where it can really go wrong. So when you are looking for a rescue organisation, there are a few things that I want you to consider in choosing one that is reputable and dedicated to the well-being of the dogs in their care. So, signs to look out for. A transparent adoption process. So you want the rescue to be really willing to answer questions and provide information, as much as they have, about that dog, the dog's history, the dog's health, the dog's behaviour, because you want to make sure that you are a good match for that dog and that dog is a good match for you, your lifestyle and your home life. Because if you don't get that opportunity to learn a bit about that dog, it could be that there's something about that dog that just isn't going to mesh with you and your lifestyle. So, for example, one of the most important things for us when we were choosing a rescue dog was that it was very likely to get on with cats. We already had a cat at home who had lived with dogs, so it was really important to us that the dog we chose was going to make him feel as comfortable as possible. And having a cat at home already, the kind of sticking point for us would be, if that dog cannot learn to get on with the cat, it's not going to work out. And that's the same for, if you have children, only some dogs will be appropriate to home in those situations. How long are you going to be leaving it for? How much space do you have? Lots and lots of things to consider with, is that dog right for me? Am I right for that dog? I have seen cases where dogs with very little history, very little information, have just kind of been dropped off on people's doorsteps with not a lot of choice, with the process being really pushed on people. And often I find that there's a lot of information that the people then don't know, which sets them and that dog up to fail. And there's a lack of support there. So the adoption process needs to be really clear, and you need to be agreeing to it at each stage and knowing exactly what you are agreeing to. They should be screening adopters. As much as we're saying that you need to choose the right rescue, the rescue should be actually identifying that you are an appropriate person to have a dog and that particular dog. So they might interview you, ask you a few questions. They might do a home visit to ensure that your home is safe and appropriate to have a dog. And often there will be a reference check, whether that's from friend, family, or sometimes often the vet, to make sure that you are conscientious and you are going to take good care of that animal. We have also got veterinary care. So any rescue should be prioritising the health of their dogs. The dog should come to you vaccinated, spayed or neutered, or any medical treatment that dog needs should be taken care of, and you should be made aware of that before you are bringing that dog home. Lifelong support. So if it doesn't work out, what happens then? If that dog has a behaviour problem, are they going to provide you with support or signpost you somewhere to ensure that the welfare of that dog is the priority and is going to continue to be looked after and considered the priority? So having backup within rescue is really important, whether that be that the dog go to a different foster home or back into kennels. That's really important, because if they are not right for your environment, it's not fair to leave them there when they may continue to be very stressed and their behaviour might get worse. Behaviour assessments, a really, really important one, and one that I see often going wrong. So with a lot of rescues, that dog will come to them and then spend a period of time either in kennels or in foster, where the staff there or the volunteer will assess the dog's behaviour and temperament to then determine where is best to place that dog from there. Is it going to get on with children? Is it going to get on with other animals? Does it need a quiet home? Does it need a lot of space? What is that dog going to need going forward? And are there any issues to be aware of that they either need to work on first or make the new adopter aware of, so that they can go into it knowing what they have taken on and what to expect? And again, then the new adopters can put in place behaviour support from a professional if that is something that they are going to need. Everyone knows what's going on and are accepting that dog for what they come with. And they should be honest about any behaviour challenges that dog is coming with. If a rescue is not doing behaviour assessments or not thorough enough behaviour assessments, this is where it can go wrong, when they don't know that there is a behaviour problem. Now, a little caveat to this. Sometimes when dogs are in really stressful situations, they will go into a state of learned helplessness or shut down. And this is where they might appear like they are calm or fine with things when actually they're not. And only when they go into a new home and they recover from that stress a little bit, they settle in, they know that they are safe, will behaviours then and only then come out. And the rescue may not have known about these if they don't have a good history from wherever that dog was before. So sometimes, at no fault of the rescue, dogs will display behaviours later on, but by having that backup and that behaviour assessment, you are giving the best chance that they can of catching those things and being aware of them first. If the rescue has a physical location, it should have the facilities to look after those dogs to the utmost standard. It should be clean, well maintained, safe and comfortable as possible. Often with kennel setups, this is difficult because kennels in themselves are a stressful environment for dogs, but there should be signs that the staff and volunteers at that rescue are making every effort possible to make it as least stressful as possible. So minimizing the exposure to visitors, volunteers, providing all the dog's needs, having an isolation area in case any dog needs that, restricting their view of certain things if that is stressing them out. Just consideration of what the dogs need, really. There should be positive reviews and references. If you are unsure about a rescue, the best thing to do is ask people that have used them, because they are going to be the experts on what that whole process looks like. So from start to finish, what was the initial contact like? How were they with letting you see dogs, ask questions about dogs? Did they vet you? What was the after adoption support like? Were they checking in? Were they there if you had any questions? Were the dogs, healthy? What was the behaviour like? Things like that. So checking for reviews and references can give you a really good picture of how that rescue is run and what working with them is going to be like. And responsible breeding practices. Now, thankfully, I don't hear of many rescues, or any rescues really, breeding their animals. The whole sort of mission of rescues is generally to rehome in a responsible way and give those dogs a second chance. That should be their focus. So there shouldn't be any breeding or irresponsible breeding going on within that facility. That would be a huge red flag to me if a rescue was breeding animals. As I say, by selecting a dog rescue that displays these signs, you can feel more confident that they are prioritising the well-being of the dogs and are genuinely dedicated to finding them loving forever homes that are appropriate for that dog. An absence of any of these things should be a red flag that they are not someone you want to take a dog from, because it is more likely to go wrong. So once you have found a rescue that you are happy with, they are reputable, they clearly have the dogs at the top of their priority list, the next thing you want to do is find the right dog for you. So this can be a little bit like matchmaking. There's lots of fish in the sea, but they're not all right for you. So it's an important part of the rescue process to act as matchmaker on the side of the rescue and yourself to make sure that you and that dog are going to be compatible. So when I was working in rescue, we would have some lovely families come in and they would offer to adopt whichever dog had been there the longest, which was a really kind, thoughtful thing to offer. However, these families might have children, cats, other dogs, or a lifestyle that isn't going to fit that of the dog that has been there the longest. And ultimately, it wouldn't have worked out, and that dog would have ended up coming back to us, making their life much more unsettled and stressed than it would have been if they just hadn't taken that dog home. And also very risky if we were to place that dog in a home where, there are children that it wouldn't like, or there are other animals that they won't get on with. So the rescue should want to give you and your chosen dog the best chance of living happy and harmoniously together by being really honest about which dog is going to work for you. It's much better that you take home a dog that's going to work and not end up back in rescue than it is to just take any dog. So things to consider when choosing the right dog for you. Is it from a reputable rescue organisation where support is provided? So that's backup if it doesn't work out, that's signposting you or providing behaviour support if there are some issues that you're struggling with. Does the dog need to be able to be left alone? Many dogs who have been in rescue scenario situations may have issues with separation because of the attachments they've had before being broken, or it could have been why they were relinquished in the first place. So, particularly initially, are you going to have to leave that dog alone? If you are, make sure you're choosing a dog that is definitely okay being left. Separation anxiety is a difficult one to work on, particularly if you are having to go out to work. So it's a big consideration. Is this going to be something that you can work on with that dog? What kind of age are you going to want to go for? Are you wanting a dog with high energy levels, maybe not completely trained? Go for a younger dog. If you are wanting something a little bit slower, maybe go for an older dog, something that's a bit more settled, a bit more trained. Does this dog have any health conditions? Obviously, going for an older dog, you are more likely to get things like arthritis, mobility issues, thyroid issues, things like that as dogs age. Also, how much time do you want with that dog? Are you willing to take on a dog that is a bit older, potentially have some health problems, you don't get as long with them, but it's going to be harder for the rescue to rehome that dog potentially. So you are giving that dog some really nice last years. Or are you going to want a dog where you can make a bit more of an impact on their behaviour and have a bit longer with them? So there's pros and cons to both there, and you need to consider what is going to work best for you. Do bear in mind that puppies are not a blank slate. They are going to come with genetics and pre-experiences. So there is the potential that a puppy is still going to have behaviour problems even though they are young. Size. Do you want a small dog? Do you want a big dog? Will you be able to handle the dog if they jump or if they pull? Do you have enough space for a large dog? What kind of are your expectations there? When I worked in rescue, we did have a couple of dogs returned because when the people got them home, they realised that they were too big. They chose the dog in the first place, but obviously they look quite different in a field versus the home environment, so big consideration there. Does the dog need to be okay around children? And that's whether you have children yourself or if you have children come to your home a lot, so grandchildren, nieces, nephews, friends. Is a relative going to look after your dog when you go away? Do they have children? So that's a big consideration. Activity level versus yours. That needs to be compatible. If you are somebody who has the time and the inclination to take your dog out for lots of long walks, do sports with them, do training, play with them, maybe go for a higher energy dog. If realistically you are only going to be able to give that dog a quick 30-minute round the block during the week and maybe a longer walk at the weekend, maybe you don't want something so energetic. If you are maybe older or less mobile, then maybe go for something with less energy that's going to be more your pace, so that you can keep up with it and it can keep up with you. What breed are you looking for? And within that comes a lot of things. So the energy levels of the breed, the trainability, the coat type. Do you want something that sheds versus something that doesn't shed? Do you want something you're going to have to groom versus not groom? Are there breeds that you are more inclined to like versus not like? Because there are, breed specific rescues out there that you could contact if there is something specific that you're looking for, or if you don't mind, go into a more general rescue. Does that dog have behaviour problems, and are you able to help them work through these? So this is a huge one, obviously, for what I do, because I do see a lot of rescue dogs that someone has adopted that does have behaviour problems. It's always a risk. Even if the dog doesn't appear to have them initially, that doesn't mean that something won't crop up in weeks, months' time. If you are not able to work with the dog through behaviour problems, you want to find a rescue that has done a really thorough behaviour assessment to make sure that that dog doesn't have behaviour problems. And if you are willing to take on a dog that does have behaviour problems, do you feel that you have the time and the resources to help that dog work through it? Are you going to seek professional help for that? Another big one, is it friendly with other dogs, cats, small animals? Obviously a consideration if you have those at home or if they are going to be around them at any point. Like I say, for us, being good around our cat, and we also have a couple of rabbits that live in the garden, that was the most important thing for us. We could kind of work through a lot of other stuff, but being okay with the pets we already had was really important. As you can see, it is a bit of a matchmaking situation and there is a lot to consider, but all really important for taking home the right dog for you to set that dog and yourselves up to succeed. Now, there are a few things that you need to consider in those first few days, weeks, and months with your new rescue dog. Bonding with your new rescue dog is really rewarding and an essential process that helps build trust and a strong emotional connection between the two. And that is also going to help you with behaviour problems that they maybe have or that crop up. Here are some tips to foster a deep and meaningful bond with your new dog, and also things to consider in those first few days, weeks, and months. You need to have a lot of patience and understanding. Understand that your rescue dog may have had a difficult start, they may have experienced past traumas or transitions in various different homes, and give them patience and give them time that they need to adjust to this new situation. So I think it's really easy for us to take for granted that from the dog's perspective, they have been taken away from what they know currently and put into a completely new environment where they don't know you, they don't know the other animals, they don't know the routine, they don't know the environment, they don't know if they're safe yet. So it is going to take them a little while to figure out where they stand and if they are safe before they then come out of their shell and show you who they truly are. So giving them time and space within that is going to be really important. So not throwing them in the deep end, not expecting too much from them, and kind of letting them slowly show you what they are capable and not capable of doing and being exposed to. Quality time. Set aside dedicated one-to-one time each day to bond with your dog. So play with them, train with them, go for walks, or just sit on the sofa with them so that they can develop a really strong, secure attachment to you so that they feel that you are part of that safe space. And feeding into that, using positive reinforcement methods, so play and reward-based training to build that positive relationship, and build their confidence and optimism within that as well. We've kind of touched on this a little bit throughout this presentation, but consider the decompression period. So when we bring our dogs into that new environment and they don't know that they're safe, it can take them a little while to figure that out. And when our dogs are not feeling that they are safe, they are going to suppress how they're feeling and suppress their behaviour. And this can appear that the dog is really calm, okay with things, really relaxed and happy, but actually that dog is just kind of pretending that they're not there and that nothing else is happening. So in those initial days, weeks, months, this can vary based on the dog, they're going to be feeling really overwhelmed, they're going to be shut down and not themselves, scared and stressed, and not showing their true behaviour. After some days, weeks, or possibly months, they're going to start to settle in, learn the routine and that they are safe, and their personality and behaviour may start to appear. This is where we may also see some problem behaviours start to emerge. With us, it took 2 weeks before we had seen any dog reactivity with Max. Before that, he had been fine with any dog he had met, or appeared to be fine. And this can really catch some people off guard. Bear in mind that often when dogs are in a rescue situation, they will be feeling that initial overwhelm and shutdown, so they might not display how they're feeling. And that's where the history from that dog and a really thorough behaviour assessment is so important. And after months and possibly years, that dog is going to start to build trust and bond with you and feel really secure in that home and happy and like they're completely safe and don't need to display those behaviour issues. But that's not going to happen just with time. The dog needs to be given that time, space, and avoiding the things that they're finding difficult and working on it in a really conscientious way to help them overcome those issues. And that's where working with a professional can be so important. We also need to give the dog a safe space, so that may be somewhere that they can get away from all of the noise and hustle and bustle of the day, particularly if there are other animals or children within the house, or if it's a busy household. So this might be a quiet room with a comfortable bed, it might be a crate, it might be a part of a room, be creative with it, but it needs to be a nice space away from everything that your dog can go to when they need that time to rest and recover. Limit those initial introductions. It can be really tempting when we get a new rescue dog to throw them in the deep end and take them out and about to meet everyone, meet lots of dogs and all of that. But often for dogs, this can be really overwhelming. And so keeping it minimal on the first few days, maybe even weeks, can be really important for letting that dog become acclimatized and then gradually introducing them to stuff outside. That doesn't mean completely isolating them from the world, but you don't need to be taking them to the pub, to your relatives' houses and things like that within those first few days. Watch out for signs of worry. So looking out for body language signals of stress, anxiety, things like pacing, panting, hiding, but sometimes even more subtle ones like whale eye and lip licking can be really important to identifying issues or situations where maybe your dog is not coping and need a bit of space and time away from that stuff. Body language is the way that our dogs communicate how they are feeling. So learning the signs of worry, anxiety, stress, and fear is really important because often these can be really subtle, and if we don't know what we're looking for, we can miss them. If we miss them or ignore them, our dog will feel the need to escalate their behaviour, which can then lead to more overt aggressive signs like barking, growling, and even biting as the last resort for that dog. If we can spot those early warning signs, we can intervene when our dog is feeling worried or anxious and advocate for them, get them out of that situation before they feel the need to escalate, and then help them through those situations in future to build their confidence and their trust in you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this has been helpful in choosing a rescue and choosing the right dog and settling that dog in. If you do have any questions about rescues or rescue dogs, please feel free to get in touch. We do offer training and behaviour support in Norfolk and remotely via our online school or via Zoom, so please just get in touch via our website at ksanimalbehaviour.co.uk. Thank you so much for listening.